Breaking: Biden DOJ fines Elon Musk $350,000 after he refuses to give them access to Trump's Twitter account. The district court held X in contempt for missing the deadline, and the social media platform was fined $350,000. I think for Elon, it's probably a drop in the hat. But wow, massive credit to Elon and X for basically telling the government to go shove off.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier, and Reed had mentioned back when Apple told the FBI to go piss up a rope when the FBI was trying to get them to unlock a terrorist's iPhone. They were just like, we're not going to do it.
But then they eventually just figured out a way to break in.
Yeah, but at least Apple didn't help them do
it,
which is and credit to them. And this to me is kind of the same kind of situation. Like credit to Twitter, because anyone that pushes back against the feds when it comes to this type of thing, I think is good. So
we also need to protect that Twitter account at all costs. Donald Trump's Twitter is one of that belongs in the Museum of Natural History. I mean, of American history. So.
He needs to get back on it. He truthed. We have this truth from real Donald Trump, reposted by Election Wizard. He says, "Just found out that crooked Joe Biden's DOJ secretly attacked my Twitter account, making it a point not to let me know about this major hit on my civil rights. My political opponent is going crazy trying to infringe on my campaign for president. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Does the First Amendment still exist? Did deranged Jack Smith tell the unselects to destroy and delete all evidence? These are dark days in America." I completely agree. The sitting president is trying to, this is beyond Watergate. What is this? Joe Biden just tried to steal private communications from his main political rival?
Yes.
Let me just repeat that for everybody. We now know, and Elon Musk obstructed this, Joe Biden, running for president, just tried to steal the private communications unconstitutionally from Donald Trump, from his private account. And only because of Elon Musk, they're obstructed. Incredible.
I think technically, and I could be wrong, Twitter owns that account. So it's technically Elon Musk's data and account. So they'd be, if they were stealing it, they'd be stealing it from Elon, but it looks like they asked him for it, so it wouldn't have been theft.
That sounds like something the NSA would say.
Well,
I think
we don't own any of our social media data.
Any reasonable person would argue that our data belongs to us.
I would like it to, but I think legally at this point it doesn't. But it should. And on some sites, maybe it does if it's in their terms. A lot of sites want to own your stuff.
I got to tell you, I don't care what ridiculous, psychotic, totalitarian, Nazi BS the government tries to argue about why they have a right to take my private communications. They don't. The Fourth Amendment extends to what is my private communications. And they can make all the arguments in the world that when you transmitted the message over Twitter, you gave that message to Twitter. Nah. Yeah, that's like a BS argument from psychopaths who are trying to bypass our constitutional protections.
It would be like if you went into somebody's house and had a conversation with somebody else in that house and they were recording you in their house and then you left. Like technically that persons that own the house would own that communication now. That's kind of like Twitter.
No, it's more like you have it's more like you you rent a mailbox at a big, so out in the middle of nowhere, people don't have mailboxes in front of their houses. Depending on where you live, they'll actually have a mailbox building where everyone goes and collects their mail. Despite having private houses, they go to one spot. So, where we are up in the mountains, these mail trucks can't get on some of these roads. So it would be more like they said that mailbox isn't actually yours. It's property of the post office. Therefore, anything inside of it is our fair game to open and read.
I think the post office can open and read your mail.
They need probable cause. The Fourth Amendment protects us. So I will make the fair point that they're saying a judge ordered this, but that means very little to me when it is the president trying to steal the private communications of his chief political rival. That's a whole degree of effed up.
Yeah. I mean, just because there's a political campaign going on or just because Donald Trump is persona non grata doesn't mean that the federal government can just look into his private communications. And there is an expectation of privacy that people have when they use platforms like this, So
that's why they call them private messages.
That's a big mistake. Yeah, that's why you need to encrypt your messages and have end-to-end encryption. Anything that is unencrypted is viewable by every government most of the governments on Earth, I would imagine at this point.
You're totally right, but the average person doesn't,
But that's like
ignorance
saying...
is not excuse,
That's like saying the government can spy on you unless you build a house inside of a Faraday cage. It's like,
if you don't
the
have
Constitution
curtains,
is to stop them from doing it.
Like if you don't have curtains on your windows, no Constitution is going to stop the cops from looking inside your house.
That's not a fair analogy. Because
you gotta lock your
when
messages.
you're sending a private message, you are not... The average person does not believe they're standing nude in front of a window. They think the curtains are up. So it would be more like the government has goggles that can see through your curtains and said, well, it's your fault for only having regular curtains.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I supposed to do? You got to put up LED curtains.
You do. You do.
Right.
Because the Chinese
That's
government...
unreasonable.
Well, I know.
Sure. The foreign
It's not
governments. We're
real.
talking about the United States government trying to steal Trump's communications.
Well, it's anybody can do it. Any government could do it.
And that's not my concern. My concern is the U.S. government violating the rights of American citizens and Joe Biden trying to steal communications from Trump to cheat an election.
Well, I mean, I think you did point out it's not, he got did a judge sign off on this?
It means very little when the DOJ, Joe Biden, is targeting his political opponent. I don't care. Criminally charging Trump, I don't care. They've crossed the line. They're engaged in civil war.
I don't disagree with you, but I have no empathy for people that continue to text on their phones with proprietary software to type on direct messages on Twitter and YouTube without saying this stuff. Like that is trackable data. Get it through your head. I have no empathy if you don't get that through your head. I'm sorry, I don't.
I have tons of sympathy for people who eat Splenda and drink fluoride and do a whole bunch of other really awful things because the government tells them it's fine.
Yeah, well, they should be
because there are people who should know these things, but it's not the job of the average person who's a plumber or a carpenter or who works at an insurance company to read the news and do the research every day. That's what we do. And so we try to inform them. We try to tell people, hey, man, you got to encrypt your messages. Hey, you got to eat healthy. You got to exercise and you got to pay attention to what's going on to the best of your abilities. But the point is, the average person, people are out there building houses. Okay, they're working 8, 12-hour days. They're not going to go online and research fluoride for 27 years to figure out what's going on with the water or atrazine or sucralose or other stuff like that. So they come to shows like this, and we do our best to inform them to the best of our abilities. So I do have sympathy for people. They think their messages are private because it's only between them and another person. If there was a big red stop sign on the thing that said, anyone can see this, they would take it much more seriously. But they're not being told that. They're being misled. Outside of all of that, the most important thing to consider, it doesn't matter whether or not Donald Trump can be spied on by China or Australia or any other country. It doesn't matter if private messages are not secure. What matters is, even if I paint a big picture and I put it in my bedroom, the federal government does not have a right to come and take it without a warrant. In this instance, the chief political rival is being targeted by the sitting president for political purposes. You're not going to make an argument about warrants in that case. The Constitution has been ripped to shreds, and Joe Biden is cheating to try and steal 2024.
I think it's interesting that the federal government often uses foreign governments as a scare tactic to let them just, have open season on your private messages too. Like the Restrict Act, that's what the TikTok ban is what it was being sold as because China's harvesting our data or whatever. But then the Restrict Act was just basically a Patriot Act for all social media companies.
Yeah. Five Eyes Spy Club. This is what they do. The United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, each of them go to each other and say, it is illegal for us to spy on our citizens. You spy on them, then share the data with us, and now it's allowed. That's how they bypass our human rights.
And you know that there's stories that I've heard that there are people that abuse it. Like dudes are asking people, hey, can you watch my ex-girlfriend and that kind of stuff. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think the Snowden revelations showed that, right?
Yeah, because they if you're working in the intel community and stuff, you're gonna end up getting friendly with other countries, with other people in the intel community for other countries.
I've worked on the social media from the inside, and it feels like walking down dark alleys at night in big cities. Like, don't do it. Don't post your data publicly in direct messages on Twitter if it's not encrypted. Do not do it because you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position if you do that. And if you're taken advantage of, you can blame the victim, but like, oh, she had it coming because what she was wearing. But you just don't go down. If you continue to go down those dark alleys, I mean, I just don't have sympathy for those people. If you know that there's a risk involved, but you're going to do it anyway just because you're lazy or you don't care, screw off. Like, you deserve it. Like, eat it. I don't know what to tell you. Reality is reality. Like, if you're not going to protect yourself, you're not going to be protected.
Yep.
The problem with end-to-end encryption is that if the person on the other end of your message shares that message with somebody,
Well, that's true
your
for
stuff's not
anything.
private. Yeah,
That's true if you go to someone and say, hey, don't tell anybody, but, you know, X, Y, and Z, and then they go, hey, everybody, X, Y, and Z. Secret was meaningless. But Elon's doing a great job. I think he's working on end-to-end encryption for all direct messages. I'm not sure if they've implemented yet, but it's probably for this reason. I think Elon would prefer not to get fined, you know, $350,000. And it's easier if everything's just encrypted. He can go, here you go, and it's a bunch of gobbledygook.
exactly. He doesn't have the thing to give them, so they can't fine him. That's how
Yep.
Minds does it. They don't hold the keys. Only the keys only belong to the people that are sending the messages.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.